Auditor General's Office is an independent institution to check government spending on behalf of the people of Kenya, including looking into the accounts of the Treasury. Sam Ogina is on standby and will be talking to us, among other issues, on the current allegations against the Auditor General and what we're expected to hear today from Parliament. Sam. Again, as said, the Auditor General Edward Ouko's fate hangs in the balance after a petition seeking his removal from office was tabled in Parliament. And the petition wants Mr. Ouko sacked on grounds of violating the Constitution by allegedly failing to submit yearly reports to the House and the President and using his position for procurement malpractices. The petition also accuses Ouko of hiring senior staff without the advice of the Audit Advisory Board. Sam Ogina is in Parliament, and we're crossing over to him just to get a scope of what we are expecting to hear there and indeed the allegations against the Auditor General. Sam Ogina, if you can hear me, please proceed.
Well, I want to apologize for that hitch, the sound hitch that has just happened. But as I was saying, in the next 25 or so minutes, we're expecting the arrival of Mr. Emmanuel Magona. Remember, this is the person who has actually petitioned Parliament, the Finance, Planning and Trade Committee under the chairmanship of Aina Moi, Member of Parliament Benjamin Lagat, petitioning for the removal of the Auditor General, and he cites various grounds, key among them abuse of office and of course a violation of the Constitution, saying that the Auditor General flouted procurement laws in a tender where he in a single sourcing process of the Audit Vault software to a tune of, saying that it was overvalued to a tune of over 100 million shillings. Now, that is one of the grounds that Mr. Emmanuel Magona wants the Auditor General removed, as well as failing to submit the audit reports, the yearly audit reports to the National Assembly and as well to the President. Remember that this is actually a condition that the Auditor General is supposed to fulfill, submitting yearly audit reports. So it's actually an annual event that the Auditor General is supposed to do, and this is also one of the grounds that Mr. Emmanuel Magona is actually citing for removal of the Auditor General. And of course, remember that on the 23rd of February, that is the Auditor General plus the city lawyer, Mr. Emmanuel Magona, was supposed to come here just to substantiate some of these claims, but the city lawyer failed to turn up, citing security reasons, saying that he fears for his life, saying that actually the proceedings here then should have been held in camera, but those grounds were actually rejected by the committee, and today he's supposed to appear in person and substantiate some of these claims that he has raised against the Auditor General, as it were. And of course, we also remember as the petition to remove the Auditor General was tabled before the Finance Committee, an activist, Okio Mutata, went to court to block the ouster of the Auditor General, citing that all this that is happening around the Auditor General is just malicious grounds to get the Auditor General removed from office. Given that the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP, had actually ruled out, or rather rejected, an ouster bid by an investigatory body, that is the EACC. The EACC had transmitted its report to the Director of Public Prosecution, recommending for the removal of the Auditor General, but the Director of Public Prosecution found that there was no the threshold to remove the Auditor General was not watertight for him to be removed. So on that account, the Auditor General was left off the hook by the DPP. But now, after that failed, we saw Mr. Emmanuel Magona petitioning Parliament with fresh grounds, saying that the Auditor General needs to be removed from office, abuse of office, flouting of procurement laws, and also another ground on abuse of office was that he's been issued 5 vehicles for his use, but he's saying that now some of these vehicles have actually been channeled to be used by family members, which is contrary to the spirit on which he was granted the five vehicles. So on those grounds, he wants the Auditor General removed from office, and now he will be appearing here any minute from now, say in the next 20 or so minutes, because the Finance, Planning and Trade Committee started sitting at 10, and he will be the first person to appear before the committee. And then, of course, we'll be expecting the Auditor General to appear here at 2 o'clock now to answer to some of these allegations that have been raised by Mr. Emmanuel Magona. Back to you in studio.
Sam Magina, they are telling us that the Auditor General is expected to appear before Parliament at about 2 p.m. That is this afternoon. And, of course, we're going to be staying with that story. Sam Magina will be bringing us updates in subsequent bulletins on what exactly transpired in Parliament, where Auditor General Edward Ouko's fate currently hangs in the balance after a petition seeking his removal from office was tabled in Parliament. And among current allegations against the Auditor General include, firstly, allegedly failing to submit yearly reports to the House, as Sam Magina said there, and indeed the President, and also hiring senior staff without the advice of the Audit Advisory Board. The Auditor General is also accused of wasting public funds through irregular procurements, key among them the single sourcing of an audit vault software at an allegedly inflated cost of 100 million. The Auditor General is also alleged to have colluded with his Executive Committee and Deputy Auditor General Stephen Kinuthia to irregularly approve procurement of this software. And Sam Magina is on standby in Parliament and will be staying with this developing story. Now, also on Citizen Extra, among stories we're following for you is a 2-week operation to flush out bandits in Baringo and Elgeyo-Marakwet counties, which is set to begin today. More police officers have been sent to the Kerio Valley that has now been gazetted as a dangerous zone, even as Deputy President William Ruto promised government assistance for uprooted families. And we'll be looking into the Baringo issue, particularly when we look at the rampant killings in the conflict-prone Baringo and Elgeyo-Marakwet counties. And the worst of the killings, if you will remember, was perhaps the cold-blooded murder of a mother and her 3-day-old baby. As we have earlier mentioned, and we just mentioned, is that the Deputy President says Kerio Valley Belt should be and will be gazetted as a dangerous area. We'll be looking at the implication of this, and I'll be talking to some area leaders here in studio very shortly. But before that, let's cross over to Mombasa. We're live in Mombasa County, where our reporter Hassan Mugambi is keeping tabs on the war against narcotics. We also understand that there are planned demonstrations in Mombasa at this hour. And Hassan Mugambi, we're crossing over to you now. Before we talk to you, Hassan, on the drug menace in Mombasa, of interest is the fact that certain area leaders have alluded to the fact that the fight against narcotics in the coast has been politicized. I don't know what you have to tell us about this particular issue. Hassan Mugambi, over to you.
Raped here in this particular area and left for the dead on top of a railway line where a train overran her and causing her to lose her limbs to that particular heinous attack. So the ladies here will be demonstrating, and they will be just expressing their views in as far as the rampant insecurity and attacks on one of their own is concerned. And I will be speaking to several of them here, and they will be just telling me what it is exactly that they are making the whole demonstration about, and they will be just getting to give us details of how they are planning to go about the day. So currently they are just getting ready for the demonstration that will be taking part, and to draw the attention of the security officers in this particular area, because they're saying that little has been done since that lady who is currently recuperating at the Aga Khan Hospital here in Mombasa County. Very little has been done in as far as the will towards justice in her favor is concerned, because they're saying she was a very, very innocent lady just living at a place of the burial ceremony of one of her relatives. So she, on her way home, she was accosted by people apparently who she knows, and they raped her and left her for the dead on top of a railway, on the causeway at Kibarani area of this particular county, coastal county of Mombasa. So we, there's a lady who I think I've lost her, the chair lady of the whole demonstration here, and she was supposed to be telling us, shedding more light on what it is that they will be doing here. And just in a moment, before I'll hand you back to the studio, but in a moment I will be back now with the interview, just trying to understand some of the issues that they are going to be raising here in this particular demonstration that they are staging here in Kibarani area. Over to you, Anne, but I will be back with the more interviews in a short while.
That's Hassan Mugambi coming to us live in Mombasa County, and in a report that we filed about a week ago, we brought you the story of a lady who had both her limbs amputated after she was accosted, after she was raped and apparently thrown on a railway track and ran over by a cargo train, after which she was rushed to hospital by well-wishers and lost her limbs. The said lady was admitted at the Aga Khan hospital with a bill that has escalated, and Hassan Mugambi is there following up on demos, frustration of the residents there as regards this single mother and the ill fate that befell her. But he'll also be talking to us about the drug trafficking and drug abuse at the coast. We're also expecting him to be talking to Coast Regional Director Nelson Marwa, and of course we will be crossing over to Hassan Mugambi very shortly. Moving on, a two-week operation to flush out bandits in Baringo and Elgeyo Marakwet counties is set to begin today. More police officers have been sent to the Kerio Valley that has now been gazetted as a dangerous zone, even as Deputy President William Ruto promised government assistance for uprooted families. And for more on the discussion on the rampant killings in the conflict-prone Baringo and Elgeyo Marakwet counties, I'm joined in studio by area leaders. That is Joseph Makilap. He's an MCA from Baringo County. Thank you very much for joining us in studio. And also with us this morning is Festus Kirob, who is an MCA from Elgeyo Marakwet. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. Let me begin with you, Joseph, on the motive of the killings.
Thank you, Lillian. I want to report that the motive of these killings is no longer cattle rustling as it has been alleged for some time. The cattle rustling business is only the symptom or the introduction to a bigger idea of land expansionism by our neighbors in Teati. I want to say this because, Lillian, you see, for the last 2-3 weeks, we've had sleepless nights and families have been displaced. You see, if you ban schools, that is not chaos. If you burn houses and take millet and so on, it is no longer houses. These people want to expand their territories in areas where there is pasture, in areas where there is water, in areas where there are minerals, precious minerals like diatomite, precious minerals like rupees, in other sub-counties of Baringo, for example. So it is no longer, in fact, it will be wrong to refer it anymore as cattle rustling, because, as Abbas Kulet said, there are so many cows elsewhere. And the people of Baringo North, for example, where I come from, do not have so many cows. In fact, there are very few livestock there.
Just hold that thought, Joseph. Let me cross over to Festus Kirob, who is an Elgeyo Marakwet MCA. Joseph, from where you sit, what do you think is the motive of the killings? Do you agree with Makilap here, who says that it is about expanding territories?
Thank you, Lillian. I can agree with my colleague that it's no longer cattle rustling. I know you have a history of the cattle rustling in Elgeyo Marakwet, which started many years ago, from 1969 up to the 2002. You are aware we've lost even 11 children during the polio attack in Tot Hospital in the year 1999, November. And we lost also in Murkutu massacre. 57 people were massacred in Murkutu in 2001, March. And Lillian, it was believed to be cattle rustling. But in the recent past, it is no longer, because we've lost our watchman. We've lost people, even drivers on the road, that are being attacked without a reason, without even cattle, Lillian. So I believe that it is something else. I believe, you know, there is exploration of oil along Kerio Valley, and maybe there is some powerful forces behind these cattle rustlers, believed from Pokot, who want to plunge the people of Baringo and the people of Elgeyo Marakwet, so that they can maybe issue themselves some title deeds and cover that area. Because I don't believe it is just an ordinary Pokot who can actually undertake such killings with a lot of bullets being used, and we have a government in place. I don't believe it is something else, not actually cattle rustling.
Although, coming back to you, Makilap, security teams in the region have alluded to the fact that these killings may actually have something to do with elected leaders and aspirants.
Thank you, Lillian. Yes, to some extent, I want to say that bandits are also voters, and they voted in leaders, and they have an intention of voting in other leaders. They either remove the existing ones or replace them with new ones. And it is leaders who have the upper hand of ensuring that peace is restored. Because if you are elected by bandits, you have the capacity to tell them, no, this is not the direction to go. You are able to command them and tell them, go back, and this business must stop. So to some extent, there is some element of leaders, especially in theater, political competition, you know. There is political competition between two leaders, and each one of them is trying to, you know, overshadow the other by engaging in activities that are now making their neighbors, like myself, being displaced from our area. And I say this, Lillian, because I have evidence. For example, areas where they have actually able to chase people, they have actually settled in those areas and even renamed schools and even renamed some divisions. For example, there is now there was a division called Mokutani in Baringo South, which was occupied by the Chamus community. Now it is referred to as Makutano. Makutano is a similar name to that one in West Pokot. And even in my own sub-county, Baringo North, there are places where they are now building schools and employing assistant chiefs, calling them Kashokon sub-location in Theatre East, in Baringo East or Theatre constituency. So there is some systematic transfer of population to ensure that they settle in areas where there is enough pasture, where there are enough natural resources, and this is actually being supported by people who have gone to school. They use the people who are ignorant in the village to displace others.
But Joseph, just before I cross over to Festus, is the leadership of the area doing enough to castigate this? You're saying that areas are being renamed. Are you as leaders doing enough to castigate this?
Yes, Lillian, we've informed the relevant authorities of government. But I believe that the leaders of Tiati are not doing enough. For example, if you could listen to a video clip some times back when our speaker gave government 2 days ultimatum. You know, that alone should have been a candidate for sale. Because immediately after that, Lillian, that is when a mother with a 2 days old baby was killed. Immediately from that, there was sporadic attack right from Ochongoi bordering Laikipia all the way to Kerio Valley. I mean, the leaders of Tiati are not doing enough because, look, Lillian, why is it so one-sided? It is Tiati versus Elgeyo Marakwet. It is Tiati versus Baringo North. It is Tiati versus Baringo South, that is the Tukens and El Chamus. It is Tiati versus Laikipia, versus Samburu, versus Turkana. So, I mean, their leadership are not doing enough. For example, Lillian, you must have heard for the rest of this period when there has been issues, no single person from the Tuken side or Baringo North or Baringo South have gone to raid or displace people in the other side,
right.
even a single day.
Right, and very shortly we'll be playing you a clip of utterances by Deputy President William Ruto when he said that the area should be gazetted as a dangerous area. But before that, just over to you, Festus Kirop, tying on to the question that I had forwarded to Makilath, who is behind the arming of these bandits? How do these bandits get their hands on such sophisticated weapons, which ties into the question on whether the leadership could be involved or privileged persons per se? Who has been arming these bandits with these sophisticated weapons?
Thank you, Lillian. It is in record, as put by Honorable Maklath, that the aggressors are our brothers from Pokot. They have really disturbed all the neighbors, the 5, the James, the Marakwet, the Tugen, the Turkana, all that. And Lillian, it is good to know that the bullets that are being used are the ones that are manufactured from Eldoret, that is owned by the government, by this government of Kenya. Those bullets, the remains of the bullets, are seriously indicating that these people have a lot of support from powerful people, because there is no ordinary man can assess such dangerous weapons, Lillian. So we believe there are leaders who are very powerful, because they can supply this. Pokots really cry for food. They have a lot of anger. Where do they get resources actually to acquire? And even if you have the money, where do you assess those bullets, the rifles and all that? I want to believe it is strongly that the leaders and people who are in government are supplying them with these dangerous ammunitions. Lillian, the Honorable member of Tiati constituency, Honorable Asman Kamama, who is the chairman of security, has not, you've never heard him even of issuing press statement or even discussing issues of insecurity in these areas. He has kept quiet, he's doing nothing, and these people are the ones that are terrorizing the whole community surrounding them. So I believe Kamama even could have stepped, the first thing that the government, if the government is genuine, the Honorable Kamama must have even stepped aside for investigations to be done. We have NSIS, we have, the government has all the organs to deal with these issues, but we are seeing there is laxity, Lillian, and we believe strongly that the Bokots are being supported, because you cannot push all your neighbors, all 5 neighbors, without an action being there. Where we had MRC in Mombasa, in Mount Elgon, the government, the hand of the government was in, even the Al-Shabaab, the government has the power to even flush those bandits wherever, if they accept. But I don't know whether maybe there is something that the government is not ready to undertake operation.
The government, as I had earlier mentioned, Deputy President William Ruto did say that Kerio Valley will be gazetted as a dangerous area, and we'll be listening into that clip very shortly, as well as what Inspector General Joseph Boynet had to say regarding this matter. Hold that thought. Citizen Extra continues in just a bit. We'll be right back.